Well, hello, everybody. It is the DNA show with your weekly movie review. You might think we're filming this right after we got back because Dennis is still sipping on that soda from the movie, it looks like. But no, he just keeps it chilly. We saw Alien Romulus last night. And Dennis, what is Alien Romulus about? Give everybody an overview.
While scavenging the deep ends of the derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. Now, hopefully, you guys have seen the trailer for this. This will be a non-spoiler review. We'll give you a pause, a little chance to bail out, and then we'll hit on a few spoilers afterwards. But the whole first part will be spoiler-free. So hopefully, you've at least seen the trailer because we will discuss anything that's basically in the trailer.
There you go. I thought the movie just out of the gate was really freaking good. It was actually surpassed my expectations. Just because the past few really haven't done much for me. This cast was very young looking. Obviously we did our research into the cast after, and just looking at their headshots, I'm like, oh, they look so much older in their headshots. Because my first impression was, what is this, teen alien, preteen alien? But beyond that, they all really did a great job, and the two leads in it to me were, Rain Carradine and Andy, her synthetic life robot, whatever you want to call it, that accompanies her. And I thought they were just great. And I thought Andy was really good, played by David Jonsson, not because he has my name, but that was cool. He had some heroic moments. I could see myself doing some of those heroic things. I felt like they captured me really well. Dennis agreed, of course.
They've had a lot of Andy comments in there. We couldn't almost help but giggle. We had to make a few comments during the movie. It was funny.
Yeah. But no, it's about his performance, though, is one of the things, and this could fall into a spoiler, but I don't think it's a huge one, is, he's a synthetic and he has basically a chip, right? A programmable chip for personality, whatever. And at one point, he has another chip put in, and his whole tone, even body posture, just everything about him changes. And I thought the actor did such a great job portraying that. So,
yeah, I will say this from the acting standpoint. I agree. I had, believe it or not, I had kind of low expectations for this because the Alien movies have been kind of hit or miss for me. Ever since the original Alien and then Aliens. And, this one fits right between Alien and Aliens. They did a really nice job of taking you back technology wise, everything like you were in the same time era and everything. And it takes its roots back into the horror that was Alien. It isn't just jump scares. It's not over the top gore, but it's got both of everything. But the thrill, the suspense, they did such a nice job of mixing everything. Fede Alvarez, hats off to you. I did like the fact that he brought in these young actors because they give you a reason why they all need to, go away. Wayland Yutani, that comes up the entire industry. How they put everything together with this was great. They tied it in. But Cailee Spaeny, I liked her a lot in this. She's not a Ripley character. She may be the lead, but she's not. She's got a completely different personality because she ties in very well with David Jonsson's Andy. And the two of them really are what make this movie together. And Cailee, I was not very fond of her in Civil War, if you'd seen her Civil War review and stuff like that. But
that's where I recognized her. I was like, I'm looking at her going, why do I recognize her? So it was Civil War.
Oh yeah, I assumed you knew that last night because I was like, oh, she was so much better than what she was in Civil War. And I actually thought the other characters that were around her, Navarro and Kay and Bjorn and Tyler, they were all good. I didn't say any one of them was a standout or anything like it, but Cailee and David were absolute standouts in this.
Yeah, they just had great chemistry on screen. They worked real well together. And yeah, this definitely went back to more of a horror movie than a sci-fi thriller. Um, which I thought was nice as well. I thought that was cool. I was trying to get my daughter to go see it. And after we saw it, I was like, yeah, she would not have liked that at all. Just because it's definitely more onto the horror side of things than just sci-fi thriller. So
yeah, this one was more, how they say show don't tell, and we talk about that a lot on the comic book side of things or in movies, and this really did both. I thought that they kind of nailed it. Andy and I got to see this on IMAX, and I am telling you, this is an IMAX worthy performance. The space scenes, we got a lot more space stuff than I was anticipating on a lower budget. I think this was only between 80 and $100 million for a budget, which is very small. I did not know it was that small right away. Looking at it, I would be like, oh, they spent a lot more money on it, but they didn't. And it works out really well. And except for one minor thing, which we will get into in the spoiler section, that kind of pulled me out of the movie. But overall, the space stuff, everything about it was beautiful. The interior design was very reminiscent of Alien and Aliens.
oh, yeah.
And the question is, do you have to have seen the Alien movies to see this? It would be helpful if you've seen Alien and Aliens to a point, because they have a lot of callbacks to the two movies, as this one almost fills the time gap between the two. But it's not necessary. They do a good job of presenting. Show, not tell. They showed it, and they gave you exposition where you didn't need to know everything by seeing the other movie. So great job, I thought, on that.
Yeah, and the characters' motivations and stuff in the movie for what they were doing, they did really well. They're basically on this crappy mining planet, and the main girl, Rain, she's like, you have to put in a certain amount of work hours to be able to get off the planet where there's, it's just cloud covered. The planet, even though there is a sun, just the atmosphere of the planet is always shrouded in thick clouds. So they've never seen the sun. She goes to basically, say, hey, I know I have enough credits now or work hours to get off the planet. And they pull basically a switcheroo and are like, oh, nope, they've upped everything. You've got to stay, which gives her the motivation when her friends basically say, hey, we have a way to get off this planet and not only get off the planet, but get into this derelict ship that's just kind of floating out there to get the suspended animation pods they need.
Why don't we rank it so we can get into the spoilers?
No, that's fine. I was just going over because we never touched on what the actual motivation and story was.
Yeah, I know, but that's starting to get into it. That's what I'm saying. Let's end it here. Let's let them know, and then so we can delve into it.
All right, I give it a short and sweet. I give it an 8.0. I think you should see it in IMAX, and definitely, if not IMAX, just in the theater itself. So 8.0.
All right, I'm giving it a 9.0. I think it was way better than I was anticipating. I thoroughly enjoyed just about everything about it. There's a few things that we will talk about that I was like, oh, but those were so far and few between. So this is an IMAX experience. Go see it. Enjoy it if you're a fan of of the alien universe that they have created. And yeah, go give it a watch on the big screen.
There you go. What do we got for Rotten and all that stuff?
IMDb is at a 7.5, and critics on Rotten Tomatoes is at an 82, and audience is at an 88.
Look at that. Once again, we are right in line. We are your movie reviewers to go to, because unlike those snooty ones that only care about Oscar crap and stuff, we give it to you straight. We are the people giving it to the people. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. We are going to delve into spoilers now. So if you don't want to hear them, thank you again. And catch us on Wednesday next week on the DNA show. All right, spoiler time. So yeah, I mean, just to continue real quick, if you're still with us, they go up into this, like I said, kind of derelict, left for just floating there, space station, because they need to get the pods. They can basically go to hypersleep or whatever you call it, suspended animation in for 9 years. And that's where things go awry.
Yeah. I will say this. One of the things that I really enjoyed what they're building in this universe, and it's kind of reminiscent of Blade Runner. And I know Ridley Scott has hinted that the Blade Runner universe and the Alien universe, they're all tied together in a way. Now, he's never officially come out and said it, but the use of synth life forms is very integral. And once again, you had Ash, and you've had Bishop, and then you had David, and now you've got Andy, and they bring them together, and they're so integral to the story right now, and the relationship between Rain and her brother Andy, which apparently her father had found him and restored him, and he was kind of glitched and stuff like this, but he was there to help raise Rain after her father died, and he was their protector. And it was great. They have such a human relationship, brother and sister, almost like big brother protecting little sister, but in a way, the other way around, because Rain, he's defective, so she's always trying to keep him out of trouble. And these two steal the movie in my mind.
Well, to add to that, when you first meet him, you don't realize, he's the Synthoid, and he comes off very much, on the spectrum like. So when you find out he is, and then you find out, he was defective and all that, like Dennis said, you're like, oh, okay. And his one objective is just to basically watch over her and protect her. But then, like I was saying, they get on the ship, and there's a great callback with another Synthoid. I know that's not the name, but I don't care.
They like to be called artificial life forms.
Yeah, there's a great callback. Yeah, because they bleed white and all that stuff when they bleed, and it's just like, okay. So yeah, there's a great callback from an earlier movie. Isn't that right, big guy?
There is again, there's a huge callback for two different both Alien and Aliens, if that's what you're referencing. There are so many. The guns that they use, they look like a slightly, I would call it, older version of the rifles that they use in Aliens with the Space Marines. It's really cool, and I'm saying there are so many callbacks. I love everything about it. I don't know what you're saying.
I was talking about the other artificial intelligence dude that's in half that they find on the ship.
So yeah, so this is the spot that, and I don't know why. everything else was done so well in this movie. And again, I don't know if it's a budget constraint or what it was, but you get to meet an artificial life form, and you see the computer screen, and then you see Rook come up, and you're like, oh, Rook. So, very much in the way of Ash and Bishop. And then they prop him up and set him there. And it is the digital face of Ian Holm. And you're like, oh my God, it's Ash. All over again. Only the AI is so bad. It reminds me of Rogue One and where Tarkin, where they digitally remade him and put him in there. Only this is like way worse. Like they had no.
See, I'm curious if you see this movie, come back and comment, because I don't think it was as bad as he's saying. There was something off. Like when I watched it, I didn't remember enough. Like I was familiar enough to where I got that hint of I've seen that guy before. And it was after the movie we were driving back, and it was like, oh, that's the guy from the original who obviously is not around anymore. And even if he was, he'd be so much older, whatever. So yeah, so they definitely had somebody in his place with probably, the dot stuff over his face so they could map the original actor's face to it. So it was a little off in a way, but I don't think it was nearly as bad as what you're saying.
Oh, it pulled me right out of the movie. The only time anything pulled me out of the experience was when they showed him. It was great to see his face, kind of, because it was kind of his face. It was jarring to me how bad it was.
All right. Well, if I would love to know what you guys think if you see it. Moving on, of course, you get the chest buster scene. One of the actors goes down that way. They get the face hugger on them, and you get to see a great effect of it bursting out of their chest. They did it different enough, which is another nice thing with these movies. They have to always try and do some stuff different that you've seen in the previous movies. They did that nicely. They did it with a character I didn't really give a crap about in the first place, though. So it would have been nicer if I liked the character. I didn't hate him. You just didn't get to know the person well enough, I think, to care either way when it happened. I could think of another character they could have done it to where I would have been like, but they saved that more for the end.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. There's one character in particular that you just kind of want to hate. Tyler, he drove me completely bonkers, and when he bit it, I was like, oh, gee, that's too bad. Felt really bad about that.
Wait, hold on here. Let me see. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, when he bit it, I was just like, oh, that could have been sooner. Plus, not getting.
They do give you a reason why you're supposed to dislike him, but still.
Yeah, they give you a reason, but he's still just kind of such a dick. But, the way he dies, and we won't spoil that, was, it was good. But at the same time, either he's just really stupid, but there was just an easy way where he could have actually saved himself and not died. He would have got hurt, but he wouldn't be dead. Or maybe he would have been 2 seconds later, but that's a negative. That's a small thing.
Right. And the thing is, this was very good. And most of the stuff that most of what we have are little nitpicks. The world building was really good on this. The building up of how Weyland-Yutani is basically, it's like big corporate America that's down on the man, and they're keeping you down, and they make references about how it's coming apart at the seams on all the frontiers. So all the mining colonies and stuff like this, they do a really nice job of showing you the world building in this universe and what's going on. and you've got one big company that's controlling just about everything, and we are kind of expendable in their universe.
Well, the other thing I thought they did well is you don't, I've seen other franchises try this, but most franchises just keep moving forward or they do a prequel, you know. To me, at least, I think it's very rare when you see one go, let's insert a chapter in between two other ones that have already come out and do it effectively and well, because then you're like, well, whatever happens here is, how do they cover any advancement of the story in the movie that came out 30 years ago? You know what I mean? Because this does go between Alien and Aliens, and you know they do create a new creature in it, and I thought they did a good job of going, and this is why it's not really brought up again in future movies. Does that make sense? Without getting, because this is a spoiler section, but let's be real, we're not going to ruin it.
Yeah, no, I think they did a good job with it. I will be curious to see if this is the launch of another renewed vigor in the Alien franchise, because there's some really cool directions that they can take this. While a somewhat similar path, it's now a divergent path, and it could be really cool. I all I can say is this one is an absolute must see, and I suggest you guys get to that movie theater and give it a watch. It is definitely worth seeing on the big screen.
Yes, it is. And what also is worth your time is, of course, Kor-Drath, The Awakening by myself and Dennis. Guys, if you're fans of high fantasy stuff like Game of Thrones and Conan and Dungeons and Dragons, things like that, this book is definitely for you. You've got Kor-Drath, the main barbarian. Adriana is his sidekick, girlfriend, sorceress right there. Check this out, guys. I think you'll enjoy it. We put a lot of work into it, and the link is in the description below. So go check it out. And of course, this one is coming very quickly because it will be shipped in time for Christmas. Kor-Drath, A Christmas Miracle. It's a children's book. If you remember growing up, sitting with your parents, them reading to you, and if you have kids, you remember going into the children's section of the bookstore and finding these books to read to your child, or if they're learning to read, you can just give it to them. A nice, wholesome Christmas story featuring Kor-Drath and Adriana. We just thought this would be something really fun to do. And for the adults, we did do an adult version of the book where it's the same overall story, but we just swapped out pages for you regular Kor-Drath fans. So it's almost like seeing a very R-rated animated style Kor-Drath. So go check that out as well, guys. Next week's movie, don't know yet. Got to see what's coming out. Hopefully something good. And next Wednesday, of course, at 3 p.m., the Dennis and Andy Show. We're looking to wrangle Art to Bear on the show as our guest. We haven't had Art on in a long time. I see him every week on the Professionals. Dennis doesn't see him as much, and Dennis wants to, he loves talking to Art.
I do.
Who doesn't? Like it. Exactly. So until then, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.
Bye.